Well, I try to explain to Kuzi, we're playing a playoff game, Game 7. You know, that's what you got to look at. I'm not looking at him to dive and block shot. You know, Game 7s, you guys usually do that, but you know, I'm not looking for him to dive, head phase, block shots and stuff. But there are some parts of his game he has to be responsible. Yeah, the offensive part. I mean, he's a magician with the puck, but you know, he's definitely got to come back in certain areas, and we have to count on being in these areas. We can't rely on Demko making those saves in the slot all the time for him. But it's not just him; it's the whole team. But I think his defensive game has got better, way better in the last weeks and weeks. So it's a work in progress. But the one thing with Kuzi, I like coach him is he knows it. He buys in. He knows it. He's not fighting it, which I like.
How much better has he gotten in the last month with you being here, and what do you like about his game the most right now?
Well, I think his defensive game's getting better. It's just creativity. You know, I didn't know his shot was that good, his release, and then even that goal Millsy gave him. That was, most guys probably would have shot that, and the goalie came out, and then that's high level stuff. You know, the patience to score that goal.
You don't usually associate recall guys with culture carriers, but DJ Seppi getting the 2-year extension.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably been everything you could have hoped for, and a guy who's been around, played for Brindamore, gets it, and has been able to bring you something above just a recall guy.
Yeah, I think we were really searching for a north-south guy. Guy just gets on the forecheck and wants to play north. And when when he came up, I was like, hey, you know, I didn't really care about his age. This guy was doing it, so kind of gravitated towards him a little bit, where he could supply that buy-in north-south style, and that's why he's on our team right now.
You probably played with guys like that, right? The meat and potato guys who just totally get it, totally understand.
Well, I mean, you look at the two best players in the world, Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky. If you ask them who they want to play with, they want to play with north-south guys. They don't want to play with east-west guys. It's too hard to play when you're talented. That's like Petey, Mills. If you can add north-south players, obviously, hopefully they can score and they get good hands. But if you can penetrate that box, it just gives them more time. And it's an easy game when you just guys play the outside all the time.
You told us last week that you wanted to see more practice from Ethan Barry. Skated today. I know he took pregame skate on Saturday. When do you envision him?
He's day to day. You know, I don't know about the next game of the game with that, but he's close. Let's see him get a few more bang-in drills out there, but he's very close.
Big news: Aiden McDonough signing out of the NCAA. Sounds like he may. Do you know when he's going to join you, and what are your plans for him?
Yeah, we're going to try to get him in a game. A couple of buddies, Kevin Stevens, a good buddy of mine. A couple of scouts here in Vancouver told me too. Also, a great shot, really great scorer. You know, just got to work on his skating a little bit, but apparently he's a high-level shot. So anxious to see what he can do.
Rick, for a kid like that, obviously you're bringing him in, you want to see him play. Do you put him in a position where you put him in a position to succeed in a top 6, just so you can see where he fits?
Yeah, it's a tough one because I like the way the team's playing. So, you know, it's not like he's coming in and we're going to put him in right now. I mean, I got to, you know, have a responsibility. We're playing good hockey right now. A lot of guys deserve to stay in the lineup. You know, you see if some guys plays dip a little bit. You just don't take a guy out because he has one bad game. But if you see consistency from a couple guys, then, you know, maybe you pop him in there, which is okay. But we haven't made that decision yet.
Canucks had Adam Gaudette, who also came out of Northeastern and got 5 games after his senior year and won the Hobie Baker.
Yeah.
He thought that really gave him a leg up the next training camp. I'd imagine you look at something like that from McDonough just to get a feel, a taste. This is what we do.
Well, yeah. I mean, the practice pace, the way they trained, you know, the way you travel on the road. It's really, even the minor league guys when they come up. You know, I was always from back in the Flyer days. We'd always call a couple guys from Hershey up. That was our philosophy, and then they go down, and it was almost like, okay, this is what I need to make it. I think it's good to give guys taste. You know, not at the expense of losing, but at the expense of experience of coming up here and knowing what it takes, and then they can go home and translate in training for sure.
Does this schedule work well with how you want to work Demko? You say you don't want to play him 5 or 6 in a row, but you've got Tuesday, Thursday, then you got back-to-backs. You can probably play Dealey and one. Does the schedule play out well for, you know, you can keep going
Yeah,
and he's not going to get overworked?
I mean, the week before this 2-week stretch, that was a tough schedule. We had Dallas. That was really hard on us, but this 2 weeks has been refreshing. We could work on stuff, and plus, you're right, Demmer, in this schedule, could play 5 or 6 or 7. you know, in this type of schedule. You could, but yeah, he's not going to play him back to back. No way.
You got a chance to check out Abbotsford yesterday. Some of the young players in that, Linus Carlson having a heck of a season down there. What did you take away from that game last night?
Yeah, it was fun to go down there. Great building and atmosphere. You know, I thought Hoglander had a good game. Like he's an interesting guy. You know, forecheck guy. He was on the puck all night. You know, Carlson, you're right. I liked his game. I can't remember. Is it Klimovich? Yeah. I actually don't. First round pick, right? I actually kind of didn't mind him. Like I don't know much. Like I said, I'm coming in blind, but I didn't mind him last night. Just seeing what he does. But yeah, it was. I thought, you know, both teams. It was a really hard-working game. Like it was a lot. They lost in overtime, but it was really fun to watch. Probably should do that more often when I get the time. It's only an hour drive, so it was. Daniel took us down. Me and Footy. It was really. It was great to talk to the coaches down there. It was fun actually. Had a good time.
With Vasily, he started to obviously build some confidence in his game after spending some time in the American League. In terms of the off-ice factor, for example, last year he was coming over from Russia, learning English, and he didn't have any other Russian players to lean on, as opposed to this season. He had Mikheyev, obviously, before his injury, you know, Kuzmenko, now Kravtsov. How much do you think it can help a player like that, just in navigating season life in general, to have other sort of Russians?
Is that Potsy?
Yeah.
Potsy, yeah. He's been a mentor to Kravtsov. Like they're Mutt and Jeff. They go everywhere, and I think that's really going to help Kravtsov. I think I didn't know Potsy. I mean, I knew first round pick and kind of a bullish type of guy, but his work ethic is next on. I think he's going to spend a lot of the summer here, and that's just for me. That's what, as a coach, when you have guys like that who gravitate where Kravtsov will be. Kuzi, I think, is hanging around with him. And then we got, the key is Sergei Gonchar's here. And he's got, if we have 3 or 4 Russians, he's going to be a key for those guys to develop, for sure. But Podsy's you know, he works with the Twins every day.
Talking about some of those guys in Abbotsford, how valuable will the experience be for them down the stretch here and potentially getting into the playoffs as well? And
Because, yeah. I mean, you know, that's how you know, you want your players to play in meaningful games. You know, so whoever goes down there, these playoffs, there's going to be big games down there. Just like here, like we're trying to. I know it's, you know, they're not nothing games. We're trying to get guys in playoff style of games, and down at Abbotsford for sure. A couple of those guys are going to go play down there in pressure situations. You know, maybe there's a double overtime game. You know, and see how they can play under pressure. That's really what we live for, right?
You mentioned that Podkolzin spent a lot of time talking to the Sedins.
Yeah.
You referenced that as well. What do you think that can do for sort of his development?
I think it's huge. But one of the characteristics I always look for a player is a self-starter. He seeks them out. Like it's not like Daniel and Hank always go, hey, come on, Podsy, come. He goes to them. That's big in the characteristics of what we're trying to do with the Canuck players is like be a self-starter, like seek out help. Don't always we have to go get you, and he does that a lot, which is high character for me.
What have the Twins told you about the job that Jeremy's doing in Abbotsford? I mean, he had his chance in Chicago, but he's kind of like a player. He's getting another goal, and apparently he's doing great work.
Yeah, great practice down there. You know, he's implemented some stuff. We haven't really talked too much about systems. I'd like to get us on the same page. That will happen, you know, but, you know, watching them play, I really enjoyed some of the stuff that, and I could learn from Jeremy too. Like, you know, he had some good offensive teams in Chicago, so there's probably some stuff I could learn from him.
Rick, to go full circle on Kuzi, he seems to just love being on the ice. He played alongside guys, I'm sure, who are like that. What is that? Is it infectious? Is it just a love of the game? I mean, it's more than just scoring goals, it seems to him.
It's hard to explain because he has that smile on his face. Even when you give him crap, he smiles. Like I love the guy for it. You know, he doesn't mope around. He doesn't pout. Like I'm one of those guys. Even when I hate guys that pout and guys don't talk to you and they get upset. He's like, hey, coach, the next day. Like I love the guy for that. And it's infectious with the team. You know, like he was stretching the guys out there and they're, you know, giving it to him a little bit, but he smiles and. You got to have those characters in the room. I mean, more characters like that in your room, the better for me.